A few students were concerned with the requirement to have 20 logos. So I want to show you how you can create 20 logos fairly quickly. I'm going to open up the file. Remember that this is a template file. You know this because it says view only right here. This is in Canva, which is a graphics program online. I'm going to go to the File menu, and select Make a Copy. The reason this computer is working very slowly is that I bought a Chromebook that is similar to the students so that the interface looks like they see on their screen as opposed to the laptop that I normally use for teaching. So I've created all these logos. Notice how it changed the name of the file to copy of P. I'm going to select all of this text and I'm going to call this file logos underscore, which is shift minus. Anytime you see a student, this is where you put your first initial and last name. The first hashtag I changed to 8, which represents an 8th grader. The letter P is period, and the number 4 is 4th period. So I've changed the name of the file. And now all I'm going to do is, since I have these letters, I'm going to use a student's initials. And so I'm double clicking on this text. And this particular student initials are PM. Now instead of having to retype all of these, I'm holding the shift key down and I'm selecting all of the other letters on the page. And I'm just going to delete them. And then I noticed that these shapes are not exactly black. So again, I clicked on the first one, held the shift key down and clicked on the second one. And I'm going to change them to black. Then I'm going to click on the P and the N, holding the shift key down, copying these two letters by holding the control key down and tapping the letter C, and then pasting them by holding the control key down and tapping the letter V. If you hold the shift key down and use the cursor keys on your keyboard, it moves the letters in a lot larger increments. And for the time being, I'm just going to leave them in the same position because I want to very quickly do these logos. So again, I'm just using the cursor keys. The other thing you can do, if you want to keep the position the same, click on the group button here, and now when I scale this down, it'll fit better inside that shape. And I can move them and rotate them simultaneously or at the same time. Again, I'm holding the control key down, tapping the letter V for paste. And I'm just going to demonstrate how you can very quickly create 20 logos. We're just using basic shapes and the letters of the student's name. Again, I've grouped them. I'm going to reduce this down. And I can rotate them again just to make some more interesting designs. I'm going to ungroup it because I want the M to run into the P. and overlap it like this. Again, what we're doing is we're creating essentially an abstract piece of art. Because when you run the letters together like this, it creates some very interesting shapes. If I want to zoom in, I can go down here to this little dot, zoom in like this. Since I have a touch screen, I can move the screen up and down like this so that I can fine-tune how those letters touch. So again, this is a really interesting design right here, the way the black runs around the letters on the top and the bottom. So now that I've got these 4 logos, I'm going to delete this right here because it doesn't need to be on the page. I used that specifically to show students how to label their files. And you'll see all these shapes down here at the bottom. I'm actually going to recreate them all. So I'm going to select all of this stuff and delete it. And then I'm going to also delete this page, or these shapes on this page, so that you can see how to quickly recreate all these. I'm going to delete the page, and then delete this page. Since I've got 4 logos on here and they're nicely spread, if I click on this button, it's going to duplicate the page. Now all I have to do is zoom into this page I can select all of these at the same time. And change the font. So let's try this handwriting font. Notice how it doesn't look like the font here? That's because that font is not loaded into the system. So let's try instead to choose one that is in the system. Not real fond of the font, but you get the idea. The other interesting thing that you can do is once you find a font that you like, I'm going to scroll around a little bit more because I'm not real keen on that particular font. So if you like the script font, I'm going to click on the P, move it down just a little bit. I still want to be considering the overlap. This little paint roller tool allows me to copy the style. And then the next thing I clip on, it changes the font. So each time I want to change it, I just click the paint roller tool and then click on the object. So you can see how quickly you can put logos together just by changing the font. So in a very short amount of time, I started off with 4 logos and now I've got 8. And all I need to do is go back through and make sure that the letters are somewhat legible, meaning easy to be read. They might have to be reduced, or the object that they're sitting on might have to be enlarged. When you have a trouble selecting the object, hold the control key down and tap on it, and you'll notice that this toggles between the M and the rectangle, or the triangle, excuse me. So now I can increase this. So the control and click operation allows you to select items that are behind other items, other objects. So again, I'm just going to very quickly fix this so that it's more to my liking. I'd like to be able to tell what the letters are on your logo, but you can also abstract them a little bit. So if it works better to not overlap them in the center, just go ahead and leave them like that, and you can see what I've done here. You can still tell that this is an M and a P, and it's not touching in the middle here. So there's a very interesting negative shape going around these two letters. So once again, I'm going to duplicate the page by clicking this button right here. And this time I'm actually going to change the shapes. So I'm going to zoom into this page. One very quick way to change a logo shape is to rotate it around. So I've already got one logo design that has the triangle tip at the bottom. I'm just going to rotate it around until the triangle tip is at the top. And then move the object up and the letters down so that I've created another logo design out of the same shape, but just rotated 180 degrees. If I want to do this shape, but make it a little different, all I'm going to do is make it a rectangle instead of a square. I'm going to delete this one for now. So I'm going to use that space for this one. So here again, rectangle shape's very similar to the square, but it's elongated. So I'm going to make it skinny here, just so that it makes for an interesting layout. Play with it until it makes the most sense to you. I like the tip of this P that comes into the frame. And there's a similar one on the M that goes out of the frame down here. Make the P a little bit larger, just to cause some tension in between where the P and the M are. On the circle one, since I can't get to the circle, again, I'm going to hold the control key down and tap it until it has the circle selected. I'm going to do the same thing to the circle that I did to the square and turn it into an oval. Then I'm going to move this whole thing up there to the top up here for spacing. And since I like the position of these two letters, I'm just going to delete these two letters, just hitting the backspace after I select them. Click on this letter, shift click on this letter, copy, Control C, paste, Control V, using the shift key and hitting the cursor key on the right. And again, I really like the way this flows in and out of this logo. So I'm going to take this entire thing and copy it, Control C, paste it, Control V, move it down the page a little bit. And all I'm going to do on this one to change it is I'm going to change the direction of the oval by rotating it. Notice how when you rotate, you see that little box that shows up down below, and it tells you the degree of rotation. I want it to be 90 degrees, so I just stop when the box reads 90 degrees. Then I can select all three of these, move it down to leave some space around it. And now again, you can see very quickly how 4 logos have become 12. So all I've got to do with these basic shapes now is continue to duplicate the page. So I'm going to duplicate this page again. I'm going to select this font and change up the font to a different typeface. See where it says handwriting right here? I'm going to click over here to see what other font choices I have. Let's use this tall, skinny one. Now again, I can click on here, click the paintbrush, click on another object, and it's going to change all of these fonts. I'm going to hold the Shift key down and select the remaining fonts to see if it will let me use the paintbrush tool on all of them at the same time. I think I have to select one first, hit the paintbrush tool, and let's see if it'll let me do more than one at the same time. Nope. So here again, this is one of these cases where you find stuff out while you're working on it. So unfortunately, you have to do these one at a time. But that's not a big deal. Just keep clicking on the paintbrush and go in between the paintbrush and the logo, the other typefaces. Not liking this position too much, so I'm just going to move these letters. Still looks like a P, but since it goes off the edge of the page, again, there's some very interesting things that are happening in here. I'm going to make this one a little bit skinnier. Just so that I can push the letters together a little bit closer. The letters don't have to be the same size, so you can make one of them much larger if you'd like to. It's just a matter of making very interesting negative shapes around the letters. So have fun with this. Let's see how many we have now. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4 pages. The 4 pages are with 4 logos each, so that's 16 logos. So I'm going to go back to this page. Actually, some of those shapes are the same. So I'm going to go to the original page and duplicate this page. So to duplicate the page, I'm just clicking on here. Anytime you want to figure out what one of these tools does, just roll your cursor over it and it'll tell you what it does. So I'm going to duplicate this page. And notice that it put that page between page 1 and page 2, so it now became page 2. Not sure what this text is in here, so I'm going to delete these, so I don't need them on the page. I think we were labeling things earlier in another assignment, and that's why that text was left over there. So again, I'm going back up to page 2. The shapes are the same, but I'm going to create a different font or a different look. So again, I'm going to go here, ungroup it, deselect by clicking away, and select again. Click on the text over here, that's the typeface. And let's see what other fonts we have. Corporate. Let's try this one, see what this looks like. Looks kind of similar to what we've already put on here, so let's try and find a more unique font. The two basic font types are serif and sans serif. A serif font has those little sticks on the end of it. I'm going to type in serif. That's how serif is spelled. Click on slab serif. And let's choose this bold serifed font. And then just so that you can see what happened here, again, the serif are these things that are sticking on the ends of the letters. Sans serif means without serif. So again, I'm going to click there, click here, click the paint roller, paste it on here. Paint roller, paste it on here. So you can see very quickly, even though it's been a couple of minutes, that you can create 20 logos fairly quickly, certainly within a 1-hour class period. And I've got a little bit of work to do on these because the sizing is not right. But at the very least, you can see that in a relatively short amount of time, I've got 20 logos on this assignment. I just have to now enlarge some of these letters so that we can make for some more interesting shapes. And in particular, the negative shape around the letters. And again, the main reason why I did this video today was to show you that just playing around with simple letters and simple shapes, we've created 20 logos in a short amount of time. Copy, paste, shift move, and more logos. There you have it, 20 logos in about 10 minutes, 15 minutes.